Hello and welcome to another wonderful video. This is a 1969 Johnson 115 horsepower outboard. This is a electric hydro shift unit. Power head seized. Cobwebs everywhere. The thing's not really in great condition. Not horrible, but transparently not nice. So yeah, we'll be learning about this thing soon. So first thing you got to do to remove the lower unit. Find this little bundle of wires right here. Yeah, I know, horrible angle. So slide a little rubber boot back. Looks like rubber boot deteriorated here, so somebody wrapped it up in some electrical tape. But those are the terminals we're after. So what you can do is you bend them, slide them, disconnect them. There's two. Same thing for the other one. And the lower wiring, what's left of it anyway, is now disconnected. There's a better angle of where I was working. Now the prop's nearly off, so I might as well finish that off. I have the lower, or the midsection tilted up with the shallow water pin engaged, so it kind of gives it this weird angle. I'm also going to keep an eye out for bugs. I know these stupid things are in here somewhere. Well, drain the lower fluid now. Alright. Propeller off in the fluid drain dish. We can pull off the trim tab now. So with the trim tab off, there should have been a bolt inside of here. There wasn't. Don't know why, but whatever. Moving on. So we got a 5/8 wrench. Pulling out the rear bolt here. Two bolts on each side. Pull those out next. Well, with the bolts out, you can kind of see the lower, and there's a crack there. So it's already kind of on its way out, so that's a good sign. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not seized into the crankshaft just yet. So we'll slide it out of here and hope it moves. Oh yeah, no problem. Well, got the lower on the holding fixture here. So I'm going to pull off the water pump and the shift solenoids under the cover here. So hopefully this will feed through here. Terminals on the end are on their last leg, but if yours warrants, you might want to consider popping this plate off to give it less strain when removing it. Well, water pump itself was on its last leg here, so that's pretty uncool. But the housing itself, it's really not too bad, so housing's probably fine. Now I'll move on, get the solenoids out. And while I'm here, might as well do these. It's like that one broke. So that tells me right off the bat that we're going to have some corrosion down in the lower unit, which is going to make getting the bearing carrier off very difficult. So that's not going to be that fun, but whatever. It's part of the outboard world. Alright, gotta find something to crack that off with. Alright, let's go with the old screwdriver mallet approach. Pretty easy, as you saw. Yeah, wires seem okay. Down here anyway. So there's two little solenoids, rock back and forth on a shaft. Top one's coming out. Looks like the bottom's gonna be a little tighter. So there we go. So those are your shift solenoids. Careful with them. Now this plate, we'll break that loose. Pretty easy on this one apparently. Get some upward pressure while twisting and it should come right off. Well, now we can kind of get some light down in here and see everything that's going on. Looks like there's a bunch of junk and crud floating around in there, which is pretty common actually. But what we're trying to see is where our screws are. Looks like they're all there and intact. So we just got to go in there with a wrench and get them out. Looks like they are Allen heads, so that's going to be a little handy. So the screws are a 1/4 inch Allen head, or hex, I guess it's a real name for it. That one's stuck. Try it with an actual wrench. Alright, got a long reach ball end hex. That'll give you enough room to get between the little crevices here and get it locked on there. Now we run into a problem where the lack of correct tools kind of becomes an issue. You only really have these grabbing points off to the side, which aren't quite centered. You're supposed to go in there with a little slide hammer that has a hook, go in there and hammer it up. I don't have that hammer, it's not available anymore. And even if I did have it, I don't necessarily think it'd be all that easy to use. You know, this thing's been in here for 40 years probably, and well corroded. I don't know if that little hammer would do it. I've seen ones that have been in here for, 10 years that won't come out, even with a good puller. So you never really know. I'm going to use the heavy-duty little puller hooks here, connect up to the Evinrude puller, and put it on there in an odd little angle and just hope for the best. One way or another, I'll get it apart for you. But this is an odd, funky way to do this. So keep that in mind. If you can rig up a slide hammer or something, that's way, it should be probably better than, or as good as it's supposed to do it. Way you're supposed to do it, excuse me. But we'll see if this works, because I'm just going to end up breaking my slide hammer if I try doing that way again. Well, not the slide hammer, but the hook the slide hammer attaches to. Alright, well, let's see how well this works. Got the impact wrench hooked up, puller kind of hooked up, so. No, works fine actually. Didn't really seem that stuck. I'm actually quite shocked. Let me show you the problem with these things. Let me get my puller off here. See how much surface area these things have? That is a lot. Now, granted, this rides inside and then it doesn't hit the inside of the gear case until probably this last half. But if you have some corrosion going on inside of this thing, all of this gets rusted and corroded in there. It can be an absolute nightmare to get it out. I'm actually shocked that this came out that easy. I honestly am. So that's what it looks like, in case you're curious. Now we got those 2 retaining rings to deal with. Got to go in there with our massively large pliers. I'll try to remember to put a link to these pliers in the description. That's the first ring. With the retaining clips out, I loosen my mounting nut of the holding fixture. Now we can freely swivel this thing and pull out some of our assembly. There's our propeller shaft, our clutch dog, and our reverse gear, along with the little lock ring there. And there's the inside of it so far, along with my working on stuff shoes. You like them? So, it looks okay. Looks like there's a hair bit of rust over on that tooth right there, but for the most part the inners look fine. Beauty part about this now is you could probably get in there with the socket and pull that nut off, so that's kind of neat. Alright, I have a breaker bar with a 7/8 socket on the end. Keep in mind this is a 6-point, not a 12-point. Looks like that did it. Let me show you what I did for the top drive shaft. So this quilt here is so I don't have to clean up the inside of the little hallway of the shop here. So this is a 11/16 wrench. It fits over the 4 splines pretty nicely. Could be a little tighter. Probably go to 1 millimeter if you really wanted to hold it. But all I did was hold it right there. It didn't slip off and seemed to work pretty well. And got the pinion off. So we just gotta pull it the rest of the way out of there. I'll just kind of use whatever to hold it while I twist the drive shaft the rest of the way. Oh, here's the threads on this thing. That did it. So with the pinion nut loosened, drive shaft to pull right out. And that'll allow us access to get everything out. There's what our drive shaft's looking like. Yeah, it could be wire wheeled up and it'd be fine. So that's good. Well, now we can continue getting our parts out of there. There's our pinion nut. Now we'll see if we can get the forward gear out of there. Let's try the jiggle it out of there approach. So there's our forward gear. Crud on it. Thrust washer. And there's some little thrust bearing, and our oil pump is down there in the bottom. And here's our new problem. Let me find a pointer. See this? See that hole right there? And this slightly dirtier hole over here. That's another circlip. Snap ring, whatever you want to call it. The problem is I don't think these pliers are going to reach inside of there. Although, you know what? They just do. Well, that's a shock. So, when I started this, I knew there was going to be a problem with lack of proper tools. These are supposed to have a extension clip that attaches to them. That makes it easy to get in there and get them out. I took the handles off, thought that might give me a little bit more room, and they did. That's why you notice there's no more blue on here. The ring is loose and I can move it around. I just need to squeeze a little more so I can get it out of there. And there comes our ring. So, I guess you don't need their special tool to get that out of there. That's very handy. Now we just gotta find a way to get the pump out. So I consulted the old manual about how to remove that. And look at this. Using 2 1/4 by 20 threaded rod ends of 380658 OMC slide hammer rods and two 311-887 hammers remove oil pump from gear case. So you're telling me I need 4 hands to pull that thing out of there? One to support the slide hammers, and then 2 hands to pull the slide hammers off, and 2 slide hammers? That's ridiculous. That's just silly. I'm not doing any of that. One way or another, that's getting out of there, don't get me wrong, but I'm not getting 2 slide hammers. So I got 2 slide hammers here ready to go. I'm kidding, I don't. These are 2 bent threaded rods that I used on a previous project attempt, or tool making attempt. This was a 9.9 horsepower puller bridge. Basically a piece of metal with 2 holes in it. 3. So I'm going to use that as a puller bridge here. It's not quite where it needs to be, so each kind of rod's going to be pulling a little sideways. Hopefully it'll work out okay. Most of my experiments never do, but anywho, so I'll get this plate down even, put some nuts on it, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, I got my puller kind of hooked up. I got 2 wrenches. I don't know if this is going to work, but it might. You know what I mean? I think it's moving. I'll do it like this. This whole 2-wrench idea is silly. Piece of cake, right? Look at that. Who needs 2 slide hammers? And as you can see, our gear case is now empty, so it wasn't really that bad. Aside from a couple of bearings, pinion bearing that is, that's still in there, which no real reason to remove. But anyway, gear case is empty, and mind you, the parts are scattered everywhere. The all-important, hard to replace oil pump. It's a good thing I had those 2 slide hammers to get it out of there. We got our forward gear, reverse gear, prop shaft, our bearing carrier, and our little solenoid assembly. So all in all, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. This should fit back in there somehow. I don't really know how, but whatever. So, see inside? It's got those little teeth. Those align with the forward gear, which drives the oil pump. So I'm going to little screwdriver, realign that, put it back together. But that's basically the lower unit. So not too bad to take apart. There it is back together. So no reason to take this apart, but hope you found this video helpful. Next I'll be working on the power head. Not much to do there since it's completely seized, but we'll get some parts off of it.